Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, I am sharing the hidden reason why high-performing women struggle with food freedom and deep health. Now, this is super sneaky because on the surface, it seems like this thing could be helpful. And sometimes it is. But for high performing women, it's often a case of too much, too often, too intensely, until it backfires. We're going to talk about how letting go of this one thing has the potential to help you create the most empowered, peaceful relationship with food, your health, your body, even your life. And I'm going to give you 3 new narratives or perspectives so you can live out the ideas we talk about today. And then I'm going to share what this has looked like in my own life. So, what is the hidden thing keeping high-performing women from food freedom? It's control. And we're not talking about a healthy level of self-mastery or discipline. We are talking about the contracting, bracing, overthinking, micromanaging the universe, personal responsibility to a fault, where you're not just taking ownership of your stuff, but also your partners, your kids, your coworkers, maybe even the weather on a really controlling day. I'm going to share some key red flags that this might be your thing. Okay, so control might be a big challenge for you if, number 1, you feel like you have to control everything to feel peaceful and at ease, which inevitably means you almost never feel at ease, because when do we get to control everything? Number 2, letting go feels irresponsible at best, dangerous at worst. Number 3, you might also struggle to trust that life is going to work out for the better, especially in those darker, more challenging moments. Number 4, you feel vigilant or braced most of the time. Braced for everything from the worst case scenario to judgment and rejection from others. Anytime you so much as open your mouth and say anything. Maybe you replay conversations in your head long after they're done, wondering if the tone you used in that one sentence could be misinterpreted as cold or insensitive, and now you're terrified that your friend thinks you're the worst person ever. Number 5, and maybe the more uncertain life gets in one area, the more you try to double down and control another area. For many women, that area is their health, their eating, their body. Now, this is a big one, and we're going to come back to this shortly. Number 6, you could also have trouble receiving help or support because if you ask someone for help, they might not help in exactly the way you'd prefer. And sometimes it feels better just doing it yourself. Number 7, then there's that personal responsibility to a fault thing. Now, it's powerful to take ownership, and this is something high-performing women are exceptionally good at. They can also be too good at taking responsibility for what's not actually theirs. And number 8, you might find that you're only able to relax when you're in complete control. If this has landed, I feel you. And I want to share some of the things that have helped me the most as I navigate my own journey of releasing control and trusting life on a deeper level. This is not a new journey for me. This is something I've shared about on the podcast on more than one occasion. In fact, to create this episode, I revisited episode 139 of the show from way back in October of 2023 when the show was still called Slay and Thrive. I'll link that episode in the description for you as well. This releasing control piece matters so much for food freedom and for health. It matters more than the food you're eating and the workouts you're choosing. Because here's the thing. So many people can be doing all of the right things and doing them with intensity and effort and still struggling to get results. Whether those results are to shapeshift their body or improving in the gym, maybe having more energy and stamina, or maybe eliminating their compulsions to eat all the things at night, which make zero sense to them because they're eating protein and fat at every meal. They're meditating, journaling, all in hopes that they won't want to order pizza every single night. The first reason why this matters is because when you're trying to control everything, you're putting yourself in a chronic stress response. All that bracing, overthinking, and micromanaging is going to have your nervous system thinking it's in the middle of a natural disaster or that you're being pursued by a predator. By the way, you kind of are being pursued by a predator. More on that shortly. This can be kryptonite for your wellness goals. Digestion and metabolism slow down because these require you to activate your rest and digest state to work at their optimal levels, among many other physiological responses. All of this creates conditions where it is incredibly difficult to burn fat and build muscle, which are two of the key goals a person often has when they're looking to improve their health. Then there's food freedom. Having that neutral to empowering relationship with food where you're primarily eating for energy and nourishment. And then when you do have the indulgence at a party or a night out, it's because you choose to. It's worth it. And you're present, you're embodied, you're extracting the enjoyment from that food instead of disassociating and judging yourself for eating it. And then the rest of your life is focused on doing things you love, going after goals that matter. Food is now relegated to its rightful place instead of becoming a fixation or an obsession. And it's hard to experience this level of food freedom when we're trying to control everything, including what was never ours to manage. This inability to soften and let life happen organically often becomes overwhelming. Then we try to prove to ourselves that at the very least we can control our bodies and our eating. So we double down on our pursuit of health or weight loss. The problem is this often backfires. In her book, The 4-Day Win, Martha Beck talks about how our minds are like predators and our bodies are like prey. It's our minds that want to control everything. Our bodies then respond by getting spooked, shutting down, playing dead because they're absolutely terrified. They're in this fight, flight, or freeze state because there's this sharp-toothed, vicious stream of thoughts stalking them. Do better. Move faster. Respond quicker. Why aren't you changing? Why aren't you cooperating? What's wrong with you? Your body is not going to be any help when it's in this state. In fact, it's going to want to do anything possible to get you out of the fight, flight, or freeze state. So it'll often send alarm signals that basically beg you to eat all the things all the time, so that the signals of distress can temporarily shut off while you're numbing yourself with food. So by forcing control, you're experiencing this deeply frustrating combo of doing everything right and it not working, experiencing intense moments of binge eating or emotional eating in response to the frustration and chronic stress, and then number 3, beating yourself up and doubling down harder on doing the right things, but still not seeing any results because now your system is even more stressed. As you can imagine, the solution is not to do more of these things or use more willpower. That's going to entrench you into this cycle even deeper. This is where the 3 new narratives come in. These are ones I have taken right from episode 139 with updated reflections for each one. And as always, this isn't about hearing ideas and being like, yeah, that lands. This is about how can I embody these new narratives in my daily life and notice what shifts as a result. The more you do this, the more you're stepping into authorship, into that warrior energy, where you're exerting control and mastery somewhere it deeply benefits you. In your daily actions, in your perspective, and in your energy. The first narrative, allowing a level of uncertainty and releasing control is one of my divine assignments. This one is everything for high-performing type A women. And let's be real, this is not natural. It paradoxically takes more effort than trying to create certainty through control. And this is also the exact thing that will help you transform your health and eating habits more than any new diet or macro split ever will. Stephen Kotler once talked about how people who have the hard charger flow state, which if you're listening, this is probably one of your top states, to be honest. These hard chargers don't benefit from adding in more intensity and challenge to their lives. They probably have that in spades. Instead, he recommends lateralizing. This is about looking outside your normal operating system and way of doing things rather than trying to muscle through the same pattern harder. That last part is key. Not more control, not more force. Sideways, for my type A women, often looks like taking a page from the type B person's playbook and letting go of control. What if one of your divine assignments is to learn to go sideways? What if operating outside your normal comfort zone of control is the path to getting everything you truly desire and feeling more relaxed while you get it? One of your embodied activations is to ask yourself, what does sideways look like for me with a goal that's felt difficult? That's your first journal prompt, and you can always find all of this at embodiedwritingwarrior.com/podcast. Okay, narrative number 2. I don't know what I don't know. And I am so excited to see how things can turn out better than I imagined. I want you to think about this one both from a historical lens and through the lens of possibility. Think about a time in your past when something turned out so much better than you could have imagined. Like, you never would have guessed things would end up like they did. You couldn't have predicted this outcome because it wasn't even on your radar. Maybe you have more than one of these stories, but I want you to think of at least one. In episode 139, I shared how everything fell into place with my now husband. And it did so in ways that I could not have predicted, were better than I could have imagined. And even the events of this past year, in many ways, have turned out better than I could have imagined. Timelines that were supposed to take 3+ years collapsed into one. Compromises I thought I'd have to make to have the dream come true ended up not being made after all, and it turned out exactly as I wanted, even though I thought this specific outcome was impossible. Part of that includes now being the proud dog mom of the most beautiful puppy in the universe. I have always wanted a golden retriever. This was the breed of dog I have always wanted. Because yes, I watched Homeward Bound and Air Bud about 1,000 times as a child. But there were no golden retrievers anywhere near us. So we found some local lab puppies, which also would have been amazing. And we were number 1 on a wait list for a litter. And then, for the first time in 36 years, the mom lost the entire litter a few weeks before the due date. Then we dropped to number 8 on the wait list for the next litter. And then you have to wonder, is she even going to have 8 puppies? But then my husband was randomly on Facebook Marketplace and he got an ad for golden retriever puppies. They were an 8-hour drive away, but she had boys left to choose from, which was our first choice. And now we have the most adorable, playful, smart, affectionate little angel possible. But that was not how it was supposed to turn out. We were going to get a lab, which again would have been amazing. But the mom losing the litter and getting bumped to spot number 8 on the wait list meant everything fell into place for us to get this absolutely perfect little puppy. So I had no idea that's how it would happen, but it turned out better than I could have imagined when we'd first started looking. I also want you to think about this in terms of possibility. You might have a vision for something turning out a certain way. And of course you do. You are an intentional, visionary woman with big dreams. And as visionary as you are, your frame of reference is still limited. Everyone's frame of reference is limited. We've only seen so much and can only imagine so many potential outcomes for how a situation could go. Meanwhile, there are so many ways a situation can turn out that we haven't even thought of. And if we keep the perspective where we remember how many possible unknown outcomes there are, and remember it can turn out so much better than we could even imagine, and then get excited for the possibility, this takes us out of control and out of forcing. This does not mean we stop taking action or just lay down waiting for life to come to us. We still move, we still take actions, but from a place of this is where I have agency and I will use this agency where it matters and I trust something bigger than me to handle the rest. This takes us to our final narrative, which is everything always works out for me, better than I could have planned myself. Or I love this one from Sue Morton's book, The Energy Codes. Everything happens for my eventual benefit. I actually gravitate more towards the second one these days. Now, on the surface, this narrative might seem passive or fatalistic, but it's not. When you look at this through the lens of an embodied writing warrior, it's the opposite of passive. If everything is invented, and that includes the stories we tell about life and circumstances and meaning, this narrative requires our active participation, especially when things are hard, dark, or don't make sense right away. There is a lot that we cannot control, but we always get to control the meaning we assign to things. We have full power to choose our perspective. It's why two people can go through the exact same experience, and one person can be grateful for the lessons they learned and the growth that happened as a result, while another might let that same event be the reason they stay stuck or angry or anxious. This is not about judging or shaming yourself if you have found yourself in the latter camp after certain experiences. This is about honoring the pain and the sadness and the rage, and also making a decision about what it gets to mean for you and how you can choose to grow through it. And what I love about the eventual benefit concept is that it helps you release the need to get the lesson immediately. It helps you avoid trying to rush the learning process and helps you take it one day or even one moment of presence at a time. In the now moment, it probably hurts. Your emotions in the now moment are not wrong. And trying to control the speed at which you shift from this hurts to this no longer hurts because I now understand, that is just more control in a cute spiritual jacket. So, the key to this narrative is feeling everything. No bypassing, no rushing. And as you're feeling, it's important to remember the eventual benefit that's coming. And the timing of this eventual benefit will be perfect and divine and better than you could have expected. If it takes longer than your ego prefers, good. Because this is giving you a chance to build resilience on a deeper level. It means the lesson lands more deeply because you've lived it longer and felt it more profoundly. And this will give you greater appreciation for the eventual benefit when it does come. And it will come. Even if it takes 11 years and has caused you an immense amount of pain, confusion, frustration, and self-doubt along the way. It was only after these last few months that I have done enough deep introspection to clock a pattern that has changed everything for me. I have always had the heart and soul of a writer. Little 3-year-old me went around telling people she was going to write books one day. Writing has been the thing that's healed me the most, brought me the most joy, And if I could just do anything, I would write and create. So let me take you to 2015. I'm working at a window building job. I'm writing every day, working on Delilah's Palace, which was my second published novel. I'm happy, healthy, fit, no binge eating, so consistent. And this is after struggling with food and weight since the age of 6. So I thought, yes, I have conquered my biggest demon. And I'd gotten all of my certifications to become a personal trainer because I wanted to help others heal their relationship with food, with body, all the things. Then I landed what I thought was my dream job as a personal trainer at a private studio. Now, in many ways, it was a dream job. My employer was amazing. I loved my coworkers. The clients were fantastic and a delight to work with. And it was also a chance to build a lot of skills over those 7 to 8 years that still benefit me today. It's also where I met my now husband. All of that can be true. And as soon as I got that job, my binge eating returned. I struggled with consistency, with health, with energy. And I struggled with it for most of the time I worked there. Ironically, the time I struggled the least with my eating was in 2020 during the pandemic. Then I decided it was time to start my own business in 2021. I had signed a non-compete clause with my current job, which meant I needed to work somewhere else for a year, which was fine, very normal in the industry. So I got a job building doors instead of windows this time. Once again, I became the happiest, fittest, most consistent I'd ever been. And all the stress from having to be on and cheerful and force extroversion that is so against my wiring melted away. Then the time came to build my coaching business in 2022. The binge eating returns. Health plummets. I'm suddenly the most unhappy I've been since 2010. Even though I'm now engaged to the best man ever, and I should be happy. I lasted about 8 months trying to build that business. During this time, I was still working part-time at my door building job. I went back to that door building job full-time in April. And would you believe it? My health returns. My eating habits fall back into alignment. I'm peaceful and happy and alive again. But it still felt like, as much as I loved this job so much, honestly, I think that was the best job I've ever had. And I also felt it wasn't my final resting place. Especially not when I started having to go to physio for back pain and being told, Kayla, you're getting older. Your spine is getting leathery and you can't be doing imbalanced rotational movements for 10 hours a day and not expect to have problems. Which, as a personal trainer, I knew that, but I was like, it's okay. I'm going to do a really good job stretching and I'm going to make up for those muscle imbalances in my workouts. Talk about trying to exert a ridiculous amount of control in vain. Then we moved to this new town last fall. And now I'm excited because I've created this beautiful modality that's never been done before, and it's helped me more than anything else ever has. And deep down, I know how amazing this is and how much it's going to help so many people. And then history repeats itself. My eating habits start to suffer. Not to the same degree they used to, but it's still not Kayla at her finest either. My energy plummets. And then, even as I do all the right things that used to work like clockwork with my body transformation journey, my weight either doesn't budge or moves exceptionally slow. It's funny, back in episode 139, 2023 Kayla was struggling with a week-long plateau. Little did she know that in late 2025 to early 2026, she'd gained back 20-ish pounds that she had kept off for years on end. And she would proceed to have her first ever 6-month plateau. Reminding myself that this is happening for my eventual benefit has been deep work. It has meant noticing when I'm bracing, forcing, when I'm exerting pressure, and going back to softening and releasing the control over and over again. On a good day, I can tell you, this is one of my divine assignments. I'm realizing that food freedom is not just the certainty that you can always influence your body transformation outcomes on a predictable schedule. True food freedom is navigating the combination of I will continue to show up for my body and my habits when it feels like nothing is working, and even though I might get frustrated and angry sometimes, I'm trusting that this is happening for my eventual benefit. And part of the eventual benefit was finally, over a decade later, clocking the pattern that has been here all along. The pattern of throw myself into a traditional coaching job, one with back-to-back appointments, accountability sessions, and Zoom meetings, and then often combined with the intense pressure to show up on social media, a medium I hate with the fire of 1,000 burning suns, and then suddenly my body and eating habits revolt. That is a pattern that has happened over and over again. I've finally realized my body is not broken and my eating habits aren't out to get me or evidence I haven't grown. They're signals. Signals that I was never meant to jam myself into a role meant for an extroverted, trend-following, popular influencer. And there is nothing wrong with these people. They are needed. They are helpful. And that goes against my wiring on a deep level. I am a writer, a creative. This is the Embodied Writing Warrior Podcast, not the Embodied Coaching Warrior Podcast. And while traditional coaching sessions will often drain me, things like teaching dance alchemy and doing group healing sessions where there is actually clear goals and action steps, oh my goodness, that lights me up. So, the binge eating, the low energy, the weight regain, the misery was always making one thing so clear. I'm not built to do coaching in the way everyone tells you to do it. Not with excessive social media posting, and not with a calendar full of Zoom calls. And this has allowed me to shift my approach to how I build my containers. So now Food Freedom Fantasy will become an evergreen lifetime offer with this incredibly robust course portal, Telegram support. So you get support when you actually need it that fits into your schedule. And then there's going to be new moon and full moon dance alchemy sessions every month, which is a dream I have had since spring of 2024. 2 years later, we're doing it. And also, I'm writing again, and I'm spending more time pouring myself into making the best quality content for my course portal, for my podcast, starting to do some Substack, because this is where my people are. And I'm trusting that as a result, everything else will start to shift. And this does require me to continue softening around this incredibly long period of my body not responding how it usually does, and also with it not being the size I prefer it to be. I have to keep reminding myself, this is a preference, but it is not a prerequisite for worth or leadership in this arena. It was easier to talk about food freedom in the spring when I thought I had it all figured out. And part of me still wants to get back to that place as fast as possible so it feels easier again. But I believe in hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life, especially with stuff like this. And even in the frustration, I am learning that my worth is not tied to my weight, and my leadership isn't conditional on my body performing on my timeline. So if you're listening to all of this thinking, yeah, this is totally a big rock for me, go to embodiedwritingwarrior.com/gift and take the assessments. They will help you figure out whether control is your biggest block right now, or whether one of the other 4 is really driving the struggle. And no matter what your stickiest pattern is, you get a customized audio care package and journal prompts that will support you on the next step of your journey. Your embodied action. Your embodied activation is to choose one of the narratives I shared today. So first, allowing a level of uncertainty and releasing control is one of my divine assignments. Or 2, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm excited to see how things turn out better than I can imagine. And number 3, either everything always works out for me better than I could have planned myself, or everything happens for my eventual benefit. Then ask yourself, how can I embody this narrative? What would change in my habits, my perspective, my overall approach to life? And as a bonus, go listen to You Can't Rush Your Healing by Trevor Hall and do some gentle stretches while you listen. Or you can listen to I Surrender by Saint Finnegan while doing some freestyle dancing. Or both. 6 minutes will help you embody everything we've covered today. I'll also leave you with a few bonus questions. First, what if you don't need more control or force or certainty? And 2, what if your body has been trying to tell you something all along and it's finally time to listen? I hope this episode served you on a deep level, and we'll see you in a future one. Take care.